Good morning from West Mount Airy. My name is Jessica Dore, and you are tuned in to the June 2019 Tarot Offering, which is a monthly offering that I do every month, in which I pull 6 tarot cards and write some words about them as an offering of food for thought for the coming month. And just last month, I began doing an audio version for those who need or prefer to listen to the offering rather than read it. And I'm enjoying doing this, and I appreciate you listening. So I'm going to do my best to describe the images in the cards, as well as kind of just read and embellish a little bit on what's been written. But I'll stick mostly to the written version to give you as close an experience as you would if you were just reading. So the cards that I've pulled for the month of June are the High Priestess, the Page of Wands, the Nine of Cups, the Seven of Pentacles, the Wheel of Fortune, and the Four of Cups. Sometimes people will say that they don't trust their intuition, when what they really mean is they don't trust themselves to hear it and act accordingly. It's true that trauma can clog the line to intuition. When we have shame, it makes caverns inside of us where we cannot go, and our avoidance of those spaces can obstruct otherwise clear pathways to wells of deep knowing. But that's not really what I'm talking about here. I'm not really referring to what happens when trauma obscures our connection or severs the line to intuition. I'm talking more about the everyday inability to trust oneself. Intuition is one of those things that's talked about a lot, but I rarely see honest discussions around why listening to it can be so hard, let alone instruction on how to go about making it easier. In my opinion, if we continually find ourselves saying, I knew something wasn't right from the beginning, we need to be retracing our steps to determine what it was that got in the way of heeding that warning. High Priestess is popularly viewed as a card about intuition. That's kind of how she's used in tarot readings. But it is just as much about demystifying the part of ourselves that overrides inner knowing as it is about intuition itself. High Priestess is also connected with the concepts of mystery and kind of like things that are unsaid. It is an invitation to come into dialogue with the parts of the psyche whose needs are so aggravated and pressing that they drown out the subtle pulsing of the intuitive self. The parts whose needs to be wanted, to be rescued, to numb old wounds are much stronger, much sharper, and much more urgent than the seemingly abstract need for self-preservation. That abstract need for self-preservation would be sort of what the intuitive self is speaking to. Save yourself, save your future self from unnecessary suffering, and listen to me now. We learn to trust our intuition by listening to it. It's really that simple, by doing what it tells us to do and by having subsequent experiences that positively reinforce that behavior. What I mean by that is that teach us that that behavior was the right choice. For instance, you might sense that something is dangerous and walk away from it even though it feels good in the moment, sparing yourself unnecessary pain, which later becomes obvious. So in that case, you say no to something even though it's hard, and then later on you learn, wow, I really dodged a bullet. Or you might say no to an opportunity that feels pretty good but not quite right, only to have your dream project materialize soon after. Again, this is a positive reinforcement that when you say no to something that doesn't feel right, you are rewarded with something better, something that you want more. Basic rules of behavioral conditioning support the premise that the more we act in accordance with our intuition and experience positive results, the easier listening to intuition will become over time. One concrete way to begin building trust in yourself, and I love, if you know my work, you know that I love concrete ways to learn things that are a little bit more abstract. One concrete way to begin building trust in yourself is to make choices that prioritize your safety and well-being, behavioral choices, to say no when the smaller, less mature parts of you want to say yes. And here I'm referring to the Page of Wands, because the pages in tarot are sort of the children of tarot. They're kind of like the young, fresh, and sometimes naive, less mature parts of ourselves. These are the parts that hear intuition say no, like hearing a parent say no or a caregiver say no, yet can't help but charge forth in hopes of fulfilling some long unmet need. To earn the trust of these parts, and in doing so, kind of to give them permission to fall back, you must prove that you can protect them. Because these parts, these younger parts of ourselves, they don't always know what's best for them, just like children don't always know what's best for them, and do well when they have rules to sort of help them along the way. So we earn the trust of these parts by proving that we can protect them. And we do this by making choices in their highest interests. So what are their highest interests? Well, when you go deep below the surface of the most precious wishes of these parts, what do these parts really want? Identifying what are the unmet needs there in the bedrock. And here I'm referring to the Nine of Cups, which is traditionally read as a card about wish fulfillment. What are the most precious, deepest wishes of these parts? We usually will find that they want to be safe. They want to be seen. They want to be loved. We want to address these needs, these deep wishes. Few people in this world will pursue and protect these needs for you if you do not. So again, to earn the trust of these parts, to let them fall back when intuition is speaking, we have to prove that we can protect them and that we're acting in their highest interests, to be safe, to be seen, to be loved. One also concrete way of connecting with the parts of ourselves that undermine our ability to choose well for ourselves is to ask this question: what am I afraid will happen if I listen to my intuition in this moment? If I walk away from the thing that I know is wrong or not good enough? If I say yes to this thing that really feels right even though I'm scared? The answers to this question of what am I afraid will happen if I listen to my intuition will usually highlight some fear of being left behind, of being unloved, of being inadequate, not good enough. And this is data that you can use, not just now, but you can use it as a target for your healing work moving forward, as a point for learning and growth. We must earn our own trust just as we would require others to earn it. And here's the thing. People who don't trust themselves tend not to insist that others be trustworthy either. However, when we have earned our own trust by proving that we can be counted on to keep ourselves safe, we are more likely to require that others earn that trust too. Because when we have worked hard to get a taste of what security feels like, we are not so quick to give it up. Conversely, when we don't trust ourselves, we don't know what security is. And we aren't likely to require security in our relationships, safe people. I really like the idea. Oh no, I'm sorry. Earning your own trust takes work. It requires a commitment to making the right choices even when it's hard. And here I'm referring to Seven of Pentacles, which shows a person in a field or a garden, and they're putting in all this hard work into this crop, and they're seeing a yield. They're seeing fruits. They're seeing pentacles sprout and grow from the work that they're doing. Earning your own trust takes work. But how can you trust your intuition if you don't give it the opportunity to show you what it knows? How will you ever learn to do what it tells you if you just continually deny and repress it? The only way to learn the power of your intuition is to listen, to act accordingly, and to let yourself see. I like the idea of using the physical domains of behavior and action to strengthen the watery realm of inner knowing. And here I'm referring to the interplay between the pentacles, which are sort of representing the physical domains of behavior and action, to strengthen the watery realm of inner knowing, which I'm talking about the High Priestess, of course, and the cups. Think about it as an experiment. Say no to one thing you have a weird feeling about. Do one thing because you feel like it's right, even though you're scared. Just see what happens. And let the universe reinforce you. And here I'm referring to the Wheel of Fortune. Spin the wheel and see what happens. Take a risk. The universe will either positively or negatively reinforce you. People who don't understand what passivity is, and here I'm referring to the High Priestess, of course, are unable to access its power. People who think that passivity is resignation or submission. If passivity is staying put where you are, quietly inviting the world to rise and meet you, lowering yourself to connect with a person or a project that isn't a match for your magic is the opposite. That's what passivity is not. Lowering yourself is not what passivity is at all. One of these things is motivated by a deep trust in oneself and the universe. The other is motivated by fear and a need to control. So here I'm talking about staying put where you are, quietly inviting the world to rise and meet you. This is motivated by a deep trust in oneself, High Priestess, and the universe, Wheel of Fortune. While the other option, lowering yourself to connect with a person or a project or a community or whatever it is that isn't a match for your magic, that's the opposite. That is motivated by fear and by a need to control. And sometimes that fear and that need to control are driven by terror of being abandoned. And people who are terrified of being abandoned often feel unable to sit back and disengage and practice passivity when those they care for behave badly or are not able to rise to meet them. Digging in their heels, they commit to helping or having compassion when what they're really doing is enabling, trying to control. Paradoxically, when we buy into the idea that if we do not coddle people, they will not grow, actually we stifle them. We tacitly tell them, I have no faith in you at all. Sure, it is a risk to stay rooted and passive in our magic when someone we hope will join us is stumbling, trying to come into their own. The risk I'm referring to Wheel of Fortune, and when I talk about staying rooted and passive in our magic, I'm talking about the High Priestess. But when we do anything other than ground in our own growth and brilliance and magic, we are doing disservice to those we love. We are saying, because I do not believe in you, because I do not believe that you can grow, I do not trust you, I do not trust that you can grow, I will come down to join you. We will stay small together. Do not be caught dead saying something like that. Whether explicitly or implicitly, do not be caught dead saying something like that. To shrink and lower is to not only betray your own growth, it is to negate the growth of others. Instead, picture what an intense belief in and commitment to your own magic could inspire in those around you. Be still and believe that you will have your needs met, that the world will rise to meet you. And here I'm referring to the Four of Cups, where you see a person sitting at the base of a tree, gazing at 3 cups. And as they gaze at those 3 cups, a 4th cup appears out of the sky and is being handed to them. Be still and believe that you will have your needs met. And I know it's not easy. If you have to, gather every scrap of faith in your being to trust that what is for you will join you where you're at, without coercion, without control, without convincing. In an overactive world, passivity is medicine and it is power. It is the difference between inspiring your environment to rise up and telling it, you do not have to grow. You probably can't grow anyway. Let's stay here. Do you want to inspire your environment to rise up to meet you? Or do you want to tell it, you do not have to grow. You probably can't grow anyway. Let's stay here. Small, incapable, afraid. And consider this, that whatever you tell to the universe, whatever you tell to others, whether privately or in public, you are also telling that to yourself. And that concludes the June offering. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Jessica Dore. You can find me at www.jessicadore.com. I am the Jessica Dore on Twitter and Instagram. Thank you for supporting the work. And sending blessings your way.